that little voice inside your head that's saying things like, when are they all going to realize that I don't know what I'm doing? Or I can't position myself as an expert. I haven't been in the industry for long enough. Yeah, that voice. Well, did you know it's lying to you? Because it is. And that voice is what we typically refer to as imposter syndrome. Now, I don't love the idea of calling it a syndrome because I think it gives it a lot more power than it deserves. First of all, calling it a syndrome makes it sound like something that's wrong with us,
What is wrong with us?
as opposed to a pretty natural thing that almost everybody has. And I think giving it that power is what allows it to limit us. Every one of us has that voice inside of our head, but the only way that it becomes powerful is when we start to listen to it. So, the first thing that you have to do to really quiet that voice down is to really reframe the idea of being an expert. So there's this idea that being an expert requires a long list of credentials or a PhD or a prize from somebody saying and anointing your expertise
Trust me, I'm an expert.
or a certain number of years in the industry. But in reality, when we look at what an expert is, it's really somebody that knows more about a topic or an idea or an industry than the average person. And for you to be able to take control of your expertise, you need to stop giving the idea of being an expert all of that power that imposter syndrome puts behind it. Because realistically, people that are unqualified are not the ones sitting in a room wondering if they deserve to be there.
Am I at the right place?
Imposter syndrome sneaks up on us when we're growing and when we're pushing ourselves to new heights. And when that voice starts to show up in your head, it's not a sign that you're a fraud or that you aren't an expert. It's a sign that you're pushing yourself to accomplish bigger and better things. One of the things that helps me a lot when I'm working through trying to quiet down that voice is first remembering that expertise isn't a title, it's about service. And especially when it comes to something like content creation and positioning yourself as an expert on the internet, whether that's LinkedIn or YouTube or TikTok, you name it, you should be focusing on the people that you are trying to serve with your content. You should be focusing on the people that you're trying to educate with your own experience and knowledge in your industry or space. Once you take the focus away from yourself and trying to be perfect and position yourself the way that you believe an expert would, and you start focusing on passing on that knowledge and understanding that you have to other people and becoming their favorite teacher, it takes that pressure to be perfect or never make a mistake, and it pushes it into the background. Because realistically, if all you're focused on is helping educate other people, you don't have to have every answer. In order for you to be an effective teacher, you need to know more about the subject than the person that you're teaching. When I was a social studies teacher, I didn't know every single historical fact and figure and date off the top of my head.
Wait, you didn't know?
I was prepared to teach the lesson that I had planned based off of the knowledge that I had. And when questions arose and things came up during that lesson that I didn't know the answer to, even though I was the expert in the room as the teacher, my students didn't expect me to know everything. Very quickly, they started to learn that if I didn't know the answer, my answer was going to be, that's a good question. Let's go figure it out together. And that mentality and that thought process of knowing a little bit more than your audience or your students and helping fill in the gaps along the way is an incredibly powerful way for you to build meaningful business relationships and show that you're somebody who will follow up with the answers and work hard to deliver that knowledge back to your audience or your students. Another way of thinking about this is that confidence in your expertise comes from clarity and actually doing the thing, not the other way around. You don't get to be the most confident expert in the room if you're not flexing that muscle on a regular basis. So every time that you give a presentation to a customer or on stage at a conference, or every time that you build up the gusto to hit the post button on LinkedIn, you are flexing the muscle of becoming more and more clear with the knowledge and the expertise that you have to teach other people. And every time that you flex that muscle,
what are you flexing for?
You're building confidence in your own expertise. And someday you're going to look up if you've continued to work that muscle over time and recognize just exactly how much you do know. So if you want to take the next steps to really quieting down that voice after reframing this idea of what an expert is and how to move beyond it, here are 3 things that I would suggest you do. Number 1, I would take a minute, take out a piece of paper, and write down 3 things that you know more about than the average person. I'm not talking about people that have the same job role as you or your boss. I'm talking about people that would make up your audience of students that you can teach new information to. Write down 3 different topics that you are an expert in. Then choose your favorite one that you know the most about or you're most excited about, and record a video of you explaining that topic or idea to somebody who doesn't have a background in the industry or your position. A lot of times I'll tell people to explain it to a 6-year-old.
Try to explain it to me.
To really flex that muscle of clarity and show exactly how well you understand that concept. I'm not going to ask you to post that video anywhere or share it with anybody unless you want to, but go back and watch it and look at how you explain the concept and really, from an outside perspective, try to take stock of exactly how much you really know about that topic. And then if you want to take it one step further, the third activity you're going to have to find a buddy for. I want you to ask a colleague, your boss, a close friend. Ask them to write a bio for you as if you were going on a podcast. Ask them to explain you in 3 to 5 sentences with your expertise and see what they come back with. Because every time that someone else has written a bio for me, they explain me and my expertise and position that in a way that I never would myself. So ask that friend to write that description for you, read it, and then take it to heart. And don't let that little voice inside your head say that those things aren't true, because from the outside, they absolutely are. Tell me in the comments one thing that you are an expert in, and that'll give you a kickstart to getting started with that activity to really quiet down that imposter syndrome voice. And if you liked what you saw, be sure to give this video a like and a comment, and follow Roloff Consulting for more content focused on the idea of leadership principles, content creation, and digital strategy.